This is a digital multimeter. It measures voltage, current, and resistance and other things too. But how does it measure resistance? Let's talk about that. This is a compass with a wire wrapped around it. And what happens, watch the needle, if I line this up in the direct way and then I pass a current through this with this tiny little battery, then we can see that the needle moves. And that's because this wire creates a magnetic field that interacts with that compass and it turns. Now, that's exactly what happens with these two devices. This measures electric current, it's a galvanometer actually, and that measures voltage. But they have a wire that passes a current through it and it interacts with a magnet to bend that needle. This does something different. So let's just use this multimeter to measure the resistance of the galvanometer. I'm just going to plug this in right here, watch the needle, what happens, and we can read the current also. So this gives a resistance of 38 ohms, but you'll notice that we do get a significant current. This tells us how this thing measures resistance. What it does is it passes a constant current through that resistor, and Ohm's law says that the potential across a resistor is I times R. So if you know I and you measure delta V, you can calculate R. That's what this thing does. But notice here, 38 ohms. If I want to measure the current with this device, I'm going to put it in series with things. So I don't want to have a very high resistance or it will mess up the resistance of the circuit I'm trying to measure. Let's switch over here to the voltmeter. I'm going to plug this into the voltmeter. It's basically the same device as that, just with a different resistance. So we still get a current going through there and we measure a voltage. And this has 3 kilo ohms. Okay, so it's not a great voltmeter, but this voltmeter you're going to plug in parallel to something, so you want it to have very high resistance so it doesn't draw a lot of current around whatever you're trying to measure. So voltmeter and meter, they're all basically the same thing, just different resistances inside, and this does something magic. Now, this does something different. It doesn't have a coil of wire. It's very awesome. We can talk about that later, but these two are pretty easy to understand.